Part 4. The Holy Wars on the Moorish Americans. Moros and Cristianos. We're going to get into some more reading from the book Africa versus America to see some of the lies, and we're going to get into the truth about the slavery story, so-called slavery story, the prisoners of war, and Moros and Cristianos. We're going to get into some more architecture. So let's begin part 4. We got these festivals, Mardi Gras, carnivals, and they all have one origin, and celebrating Moros and Cristianos. These people on the screen we see will be Moros. In brief, it's from the book or Economics by Prince Bay. In brief, where does the dominion, authority, and inhabitation of the Moorish Empire protract? It caresses all of the Americas, and that's what we're doing in this series. We're doing the Americas. From Alaska to Chile, and we're starting from Chile going up to Alaska. Latinum, Iberian Peninsula, Messana, Sicily, Mauritania, Prussia, Russia, Hungary, the Balkans, Turkestan, all that continent of Africa. That goes without saying. Arabia, Hindustan, Canton, China, to the Himalayas, Malaysia, Indonesia, Java, Sumatra, Borneo, Australia, New Guinea, New Zealand, the Philippines, and back to the Americas. And that's and that's just some. But this claim is being made based off treaty. The oldest treaties in the world dealing with Moors in these lands across the world. So that becomes law. The oldest landmarks, the oldest maps. Okay, these some of the Moorish customs that people use around the world that coincides with this. Some of this. But we're only dealing with the Americas, but we're going to go through some examples. The Persian dances, the masqueraders of Austria. So they're masqueraders. The ritual dances such as the Moriscas or Moriscos of the Mediterranean. And we got the Santiagos and the Maritinas of so-called Latin America. And we got the Kahusari of Romania. All these people play as you. Or they play as themselves, but the most ancient ones. Okay, the Moorish dance. Moorish is an English version of Moorish. And that's why you got Morris Drive and Morris Avenue and Morris School, and it'd be what we call so-called black person. Morrison. We got a dance formerly practiced in England in the May Games or the May Day possessions, called a Morris dance. How is it performed? Dancers wear white clothes, dance with bells fastened to their legs or body, Central figure is usually an animal man, sometimes dominating the right, the other time reduced to the subsidiary roles of comics. The name Moorish dance is associated with what dance? The horn dance held each year at Abbots Bromley, Staffordshire, England. What others dance possession include a six animal man bearing deer antlers, three white and three black set, a man woman, or maid marrying, and a fool being carrying phallic symbols, a hobby horse, and a youth with a crossbow who shoot at a leading stag. That's something to look into. The Moorish dance is associated with what person? What are they called? Mummers. So we got the Mummers Parade, Philadelphia, one of the Moorish cities. What do they do? They act rather than dance the death and survival rite at the turn of each year. How does this correlate with the Shriners of today? Shriners with their circuses and clowns have taken on the ancient role of the comic Moor, which dated back at least to the medieval English mummers play involving the Moorish dance, and as such, these Shriners have become known as Moorish comics or buffoons who mask themselves. Hence, shrine, meaning to conceal, celare, or make diversions in disguise again, mummers. So some of the festivals that we portray all across the world. We go to Spain, we see outright, we call it Moros, Cristianos. Some of the South American countries still call it that, but they really call it Carnival or Mardi Gras, stuff like that, festival. But it's all a play on the Great Wall that the series is about. We got treaties of peace, but we got improprieties going on. Disinheritance, outright crime. Moros and Cristianos festival. Got the Moros and Cristianos festival in Spain. Got the Moros and Cristianos festival in this is Brazil. Somewhere in South America. But you can see it's a Moros and Cristianos festival. Might be one in Spain. And we can see that it's just like Carnival, or the twist. They just call it as Moros and Cristianos. But they played a part as Moros. And they played a part as Cristianos, but the people who are watching this video, the Moorish Americans, we are our ancestors today. And you can see in Spain, they still got the ones just like the Moors and Moorish Americans in New Orleans during the Mardi Gras. We got the Dutch in Cuba called Moros y Cristianos, Moors and Christian, white rice over black beans, right? We got some more Moros and Cristianos, I believe, in Spain. But just to show an example, it's Trinidad Mardi Gras. It's the same culture that we have on the side. It's a Maurusian version of the Moorish Americans. See? And it's us playing as Moros, Moorish Americans. And if she watched this video, she'll know why she itself every day, all day. Let's see. We got Mardi Gras. And it goes to show you got the ancient science that goes into both the Islamic and the Christian side of it. Moros and Cristianos been ambiguous. History might try to paint it black and white, but it wasn't. New Orleans. Customs don't die out all the time. You see? That's Cristianos, but you got a Moorish American. They're the most ancient of the sciences of both so-called religions. There's the science and there's the dogma. The Braves. And we use the word India. Indigena. Indigenous. To signify being home. No matter where you're on the planet, you could be indigena. Indigenous in the Moorish land. It's just an adjective. What we concerned of in the era of empires, dealing with international law and the law of nations, the law of family, the law of nationality, and the law only sees the record, and in the record, these are Moorish Americans in the land of the Moros, or northwest of Mexico, or Moab, Canaan, anything that connects you to the ancient past on record. You got Cristianos, ritually showing the old wars between Moros and Cristianos. You got Moros, you got with the red sash, the beautiful Moorish architecture in the back. They got the sequoia, created of the Cherokee Latin tongue, so-called Cherokee. See his customs. It's Moorish American. Got the Imperial Red. And we got Europe under the Christian powers. There's books on heritage. You can look and see what all the symbolism mean, but it all dealing with Moros and Cristianos. And it's the habit of an Arabian Moor. And we got the cape, the red cape, Superman style. Either a red sash, red cape, red face, headband, red shoes, Kauki Muli, noble. You got the Cristianos, so you got Moros. And they publish out during these festivals. And it look like they signifying Moorish captives with the see that around their neck? They signifying captive Moors, right? Here you regardless if they know what you're doing. It's like any other holiday. We just celebrate it because our parents been celebrating, and so on. Moros. And we see got the scarf pulled down around the eyes. But this video lifting the scarf up, and it's all symbology. Celebrating the Moros and Cristianos all around the world. The Mediterranean world, we got the double eagle. Federacio de Moros y Cristianos out there. So like some Italian. Italia. Moros usta bandera que fuera su coro e porta pro tonus goyoa et coro in totusas domos. So we got holy wars, right? It's the flag of Sardinia. We got Philadelphia. The latest Bombers Parade. We got this black face in it, like, and you know we got the Moros, we got the Moorish Americans who in Philadelphia can come out, they can come play their own part. You know, the Cristianos don't gotta play both sides of this play because you got millions of Moros or Moros in English in America, Philadelphia too. So I find this and this one, I see the period red. Well, this really reminds me of Mario, right? The Mario Brothers, and the word Mario in Italian. You get Mario, frater. Interesting. And before we get into the reading, we'll see Mexico, Atlanta Black Star. Atlanta Black Star is the English Christianity that we lost and that got us lost in this displacement. That we don't really understand the political ramification of this English displacement that we do to ourselves. But, you know, ain't like I go around, it's like, hey, man, you don't use that word, don't use them terms, but you know, we got black people. So, we know we're dealing with Cristianos. We're dealing with slavery and war. So Mexico, the corporation, officially recognized 1.3.8 million Afro-Mexicans, which means that's who they got recognized in the corporation. So people who probably darker than them ain't recognized within that 1.3. Let's get that straight. To see how to look at allusions, political words. So Afro-Mexicans is a political construct made in modern times, even though these people and the people of Africa and all those other places where we just name and we dealing with ancient peoples, they are related to them. So to us in our house and between each other, Afro-Mexicans is fine to use. But politically, this is making these people refugees of so-called Mexico. Mexico can be used politically, historically, legal and law to reference the Moorish kingdoms of Mexico, or it can be used politically as corporation. So it's all discombobulated. These people can be controlled by Mexico government in all kind of horrible ways. People don't want to talk about that, but I call it out. People got too much. They got their emotional feelings into Africa, but don't get it. Afro-Mexican cool, but politically a name calling them Afro-Mexicans. The name holds no political significance historically and no records, if you understand what I'm saying. That goes for anyone at the so-called places that Afro was sold in, Afro Ecuadorian and the likes. So we'll get into some readings to show how they use history, false history, lies, ambiguity, telling 2% of the stories, making it as it is 99% of it, and stuff like that too, in order to make this reality in nowadays politics. Okay, let's go fast. Developing the idea of discovery, a term that lost the meaning of recognizing. So discovery at one point meant recognizing, not discovering. This means you just recognizing a place in your jurisdiction as some place you can on your map. To acquire that or finding the unknown, so you didn't change it to meaning now we finding something we ain't that know. Carlos V and Juan III, Carlos V and Juan III agreed to make the Catholic Queen and Columbus the origin of both monopolies. So that's one of the Columbuses. You had a bunch of Columbuses. That just meant an admiral or somebody who could discover something for the church. Appealing to the confusion. Political weapons of all time, in addition to moving the place names, they duplicated them. You see? To hide monopolies and gold mines and places that they've been conquering from other entities, like families that became countries that we see today. They've been doing these type of things, making maps with different place names. From their gold mines, they'll put it in a different place on their maps to confuse sailors and people who come to steal. Then to the flourishing customs office of the Santiago de Cabo Verde, the poor Santiago of Cape Verde, who keeps the name, running in charge of Canaries. So if you gotta go back to the last videos of these series of this book, Africa versus America, because it's an investigation into the so-called discovery of America's story, which is really the war on the Moors. On the people who this video for, Moorish Americans, right? So you have understanding what she mean by the archipelago, the Canaries, which was like the West Indies, but it's being called Canaries on people in certain time periods in Spain. Okay. So who keeps the name? Running in charge of Canaries, immigrants or deportees, gave it to the archipelago that we know today as Canary Islands. Mentioned the islands by Fernandez de Oviedo. He calls them Baleares. By placing them 200 leagues from Spain, their attractions were scarce. They have been without sailing for a long time when they began to be identified with the old fortune tunadas. So what she's saying right here is they've been people who were getting the records from the Spanish to go find Americas. They've been going to the Canaries where the names were taking them. But those names, there wasn't no attractions like we're gonna see in the end of this video. Big ass cathedrals that look like castles, right? That the records were talking about certain lagoons and jungles and stuff like that. But they sail, when they say they sail 200 leagues from Spain, they get to the Canary Islands, which they ain't find what they've been looking for until they reach some more days. And then they get to a place where a map show Fortune to Tunaras, which was the actual West Indies. He's starting to get to America. Okay, the tariffs for use in Andalusian ports prove that not everyone accepted the change. You see, people been like, hold up, this ain't make sense. So, in the 17th century, orchilla, sugar, indigo, and rosewood were recorded as genera of the Indies. See, it was still coming into Andalusia as products from Indies on paper. Like on paper, on record, they saying Canary Islands at this time. But according to the investigation, these things wasn't coming from those islands. But the sweet cane plantation, what the Duke of Medina Sidonia had at the beginning of the 16th century in Tenerife, which we in the last few videos we did with Tenerife, Colombia, Venezuela area, between the Abona and the Badege rivers, could not be in the current Tenerife, which we can find in the Canary Islands, because they are not, and there were no rivers, you see. No possibility of a Rio Grande de Taro documented by the watering the main reef of the island. So by investigating these documents, we can see that Tenerife is not what we see today with Tenerife. And that's just one example of many that you can do even yourself. Get some of them old Spanish books and go back and look at these books written before the 1492 and this thing, because that's when they say it been discovered for the first time, right? But we got ancient ruins over here. Okay. So the indications that allow to lend to the Canaries land of more generous origin than some volcanic canaries. So that's what we dealing with. We dealing with the true Canaries, Americas. Voluntarily colonizers, deceive or force, brought with them an ancient image, documents, mealy bugs, tobacco, banana trees, sweet cane, memories, and place names. So these are the things that coming into Europe throughout the whole ordeal with the 1492 stories before and after that is evidence of coming from America. But people gotta realize we don't got people of those times don't got the same maps that we got when we go search Google Maps for the map of the world. We don't got that map. They don't got that luxury to do that. So it's political geography we're dealing with. Right? But people, navigators and stuff like that, describe places. A lot of navigators end up getting known in history as liars and fantasizers. But what happened was then that they've been calling the place something different at that time when they write about that place. And when we in modern times, that name gets switched to another place by some order of the Pope of some Catholic church. That create a whole new map on the world. And every jurisdiction that they're in, they give that map to, right? So political jurisdiction, dealing with state. Okay, so noting that they forget San Miguel and San Cristobal, the last one assigned to La Laguna, name change, which is attributed to Muslim Lake. So they're talking about the lake of Maracaibo, I think, Maracaibo, which is by Venezuela. Impossible to import the landscape, so they can move names around, but they can't move landscape. Like I just finished explaining, we got navigators who actually describe places. So name change, which is attributed to Muslim Lake. Impossible to import the landscape. The Gauchos retain diffuse historical memory, saying they originated from in Africa. located south of the Atlas, like the Senatus, broad Indias, broad islands, and continental land, Graciosa, Monte Clara, Lobos, and Alegranza are identical with islets and reefs. There are no shortage in imported place names such as Santa Cruz, Palma, Tero, and Gouda. Nor Tower Nor Tower that is awarded to the Pariza. Ruined, the restoration makes it closer to the buildings of the 6th, 7th, 16th century than to the construction of the 15th century, in which the Castle of Light is located of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. It is assumed the work of the mythical Taguis, later Queen Ico Palace. Fortification ruins of the Playa Blanca and Lanzarote is interpreted as the domicile of John D. Bethencourt. So you can go find some of these Capitol buildings and these great buildings. We can see a lot of them later. A lot of these they name and rename them to throw you off, but those are some of the things you can go investigate some of the places and see. The Romanesque accent construction are missing in the Canary Islands. And we're going to see a lot of this Romanesque accent constructions in America. We're going to see what the real place of the scenes of the crimes, which appears in the Cathedral of San Domingo in America and Trujillo, which is in America, in the closer of Florida. So we're getting closer to North America. Or in Mexican fortified aspects. Close relatives of the Andalusian San Isidro del Campo, built at the end of the 13th century. You see? What she's saying is the records show that the same structures that she's seeing, we all seeing in Spain, and dealing with the story between so-called Rome and Africa, or Rome and Carthage, or Christian and Moors in Spain. All the stories saying this shit is over here and been over here longer than anybody can write about a story saying this is not over here and somebody coming to build it. It's so old that we only got records in the language that we got today. So her records is old Andalusian, Castilian, Spanish, and stuff like that. But we go back to languages before that, we still find these ancient languages that create these languages, right? The ancient Phoenician languages that create the so-called Latin languages. And we still got those languages written all over the place here, showing a much more ancient version of the same people on both sides. Right? In the Canarian Agiate, there is a hermitage whose foundation is attributed to the conqueror Alonso de Lugo. So they attribute stuff to people later. Of the primitive work of Apse and is conserved, there being no document that certifies the assumption, you see. Santa Maria de la Guia in Gran Canaria. Gran Canaria, remember, is the northern parts of South America. It's located between 1496 and 1509. And the Church of Rilegio in Tenerife in 1498, the Gothic Cathedral. See, that's what a lot of the stuff they call it Gothic, Vandal, like they try to use it as Vandalusia. But that ain't nothing but a later version of the old Moorish Latin, which is Vulgate or Vulgate. So you deal with the same people even in the Gothic architecture. Same thing, Moorish architecture. So we got the Gothic Cathedral of Palma being laid, completed in 1570. So we got some of the stuff completed after 1492. But they were both off stuff that already sitting on the land. They just remodel it, like add on different new stuff to it, like another story or section. The House of San Sebastian de la Gomera, in which, when I say they, I mean conquerors. The people who claiming stuff today based off what conquerors stole. Alright? The House of San Sebastian de la Gomera, in which Colon supposedly stayed, presents a Renaissance exterior contemporary of Carlos Quintos, and the Hermitage of Our Lady of the Snow. From the 16th century, there's a version of the 14th century? Yeah, 14th century, an object that being transported like the altarpiece from the end of the 15th century, preserved in San Juan Bautista and Telde. It can come from anywhere. The 16th century Christ made with clone cobs is the work of Mexican Indians, accompanied by Havana images. See, she said even the people of Mexico at the time had a Christ made of clone cob. Okay, got a little bit more. After the end of the war, after the war ended in autumn 1932, so we dealing with the war between Castile and the Moors, but even the Portuguese and the Moors at the same time. But on the same side, during this time, the Catholic Church was splitting the Kingdom of Fez, which was the entire Mexico islands in South America. Mexico, the islands in South America. Known as Kingdom of Fez, 1430, Martin V. Igueno, Pope at the time, splitting up that for conquest reasons. To license different conquests for slavery, slaves, gold, So after the war ended in the autumn of 1532, the Portuguese residents in the town of Cabo de Aguirre in Africa of Portugal, which means like somewhere in Brazil, some of the area that had treaty with Moors of Portugal. We can look at it like that. Sent notice to Tenerife of a Moorish and Turkish army prepared in Mesa to plunder the island. So we got a Moorish and a Turkey army ready to plunder a certain island in America. That's under the jurisdiction of these Portuguese. Once the news is verified, the islanders asked the king for permission to pay guards to watch the sea from May to the end of August on their own. It was granted to them for being the island near Africa. So they're dealing with, when they say Africa, they're dealing with areas that they know is huge, but they ain't got under their discovery yet. They ain't got no mapped out jurisdiction of it yet under their rule. So it's like a jungle area to them. Like Amazon would be Africa. Anything, any place in there at this time. And other places of Moors, which would be like Argentina, which would they dub as Mauritania. And the parts of Brazil where they got Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana at today. Been like Fez in Morocco. Those places in this time to the Christian powers, right? So they granted the people who've been, I guess they were fighting against these Moorish and Turkish armies on the side of Portugal, who get permission to, I guess they get permission to fight off these armies. And they get granted it because, they want to get more. They want to get Africa and other places of more. They want to take it all, the Christian powers, So that's ambiguous term. Mexico, all that part topic, what they talking about. And in addition to suffering from the Turks, recent conquerors of the kingdom of Jamaican, representing added risk the many Moors, free and slaves, residents of the Canary Islands. Frequently they stole ships, killed the guards to return to the land of infidels. That's another ambiguous term she's using to signify that they got on boats. If they get captured or whatever, they'll steal ships and they'll just go right back to some place in America, which will be ambiguously land of infidels, because we don't know for exact that where they go, but we know for exact they're going back to over this continent. It was to be feared that if Moors appeared properly equipped, they would pass over to the enemy. Okay. She used Moors in quotes too, just to show that that's what the record books giving her as terms to deal with the people who Portugal and Spain dealing with, because that's where her records come from. Her record come from the Duchess of the Medina Sidonia, who were Moros and Cristianos. You know, people on both sides of both walls. The emperor declared the entire vessel Indian. So this Portugal and Spain declaring all their vessels of America Indian, showing himself consistent. In 1550, he banned horseback riding. So that's them trying to, disinherit and do all the stuff they doing the Moors now. Doing different stuff to them to take away their power. In the Indies of Castile and Portugal, see, both of them, consenting against those who remain faithful to the Sharif, you see. They getting you out of they getting their enemies. It's all war tactics, okay? Maintaining the policy of preventing the American provinces from communicating with each other, fearing that they will become self-sufficient, like Noble Jolly Gammon. From communicating with each other, fearing that if they became self-sufficient, the secessionist movements initiated in Peru. So Peru always been one of the Moorish strongholds that been fighting against the powers, the so-called Christian powers, would prosper. Structured the system so that the products of Tenerife were left without exit. So they rigged the system out so it wouldn't look like they wouldn't know where the products are coming from now. They doing their thing, stealing shit, stealing lands. The neighbors protested getting a license in 1556 to sell fruits of the land in the Indies. The immigration trigger for dazzling and the exceptional image of the triumphant, illiterate, and rich Indian, you see. They use the propaganda to make it look like the Americans over here were just where they want that to be. And you know they lighten it up, right? We know they pick some of the Khanates, the Mongolian stock, and made that the Indian. And they made the darker ones the African, right? Afro and Negro, blacks. That's in effect, right? We're reading about the actual actions, the details of what the fuck happened. Take these words, Sharif, Castile, take these things and, do further research on them. So, you watch all of the videos of the series to, if I reading fast and then explaining what these things, what you talking about. The navigator was forced to deposit 5,000 ducat of bail as a guarantee of return. The ships of Canaria had to join the fleets as they passed through the islands, returning in their company to Seville to pay for the breakdown in the House of Contract. Look up the House of Contract. They got a lot of those in America. Not being able to carry passengers. Yeah. San Barandon, a monk resident of the cliff of Ireland. So we're going off certain stories that prove the Columbus hoax. Crossed the sea there in the 8th century, so it's way before 14th century, the 15th century. Among other towns, he visited the kingdom of 7 cities. So Cabola, which would be in the New Mexico area, 7 cities. Impressed by a free people who ruled justly, he wrote his City of God. So you can go find that from the Sam Borandon and read it. It is said that he embodied his conception of paradise. So he said he just making shit up about what the saint reflected without place on the altars as the civilization of the Pueblo Indians resident of the southern United States. So he's talking about us in the south. La Florida converted the Columbian discovery into a paradigm. See? That shit became a paradigm in the world. Normans, Portuguese, and other navigators, regulars of West Africa, have gone down in history as unremarkable, imaginative. So they became like fantasy stories about these navigators, Normans and these Portuguese navigators who write about the Americas, but they're using terms like Congo. But they became known as imaginative because people go into the Congo and realize that ain't nothing matching up with what this navigator talking about in 1300, 1400, stuff like that. Where the scholar places them, you see. No, let me see. To stubbornly describe, he going down as a remarkable imaginative to stubbornly describe landscapes impossible to the northwest of Africa. So Mauritania and Morocco been very much dishonored in this way, been able to been displaced. So basically saying certain landscapes that these navigators talk about in Morocco and North Africa and Mauritania and Algiers and stuff like that. It's impossible in what we think of as Northwest Africa today. And the world really tell us, and we can inhabit Northwest Africa, according to the ancient thing, right? And in that he say the inhabitation includes the islands, the Atlantis Islands, and South Central America, and the Atlantis Islands and Mexico. He said that is included in the empire of Northwest America/Africa. So he knew about what we going through right now in this series, trying to deal with basically us, this Northwest Africa. And to answer that, we must investigate. So, man of dispatch and inland, believing in good faith that security is in the sailing in view of the course and the risk of the high seas, assumes that the man took a long time to move away from land. The truth is that knowing the seasons, the real and constant danger is in cabotage navigation. You gotta look that up. Off the course between low and current. Not admitted that the sea crossed before 1492. You see, people don't want to admit that because basically they owe too much to the people who dark skinned on this side of the world. And these people put themselves right in their position legally. And they gotta pay reparations because conquering is illegal. You can't go to a group of people and enslave them. That's bad, right? You know that, common sense. So you gotta do things to hide that, and that's what's going on. So nobody wanna admit that sea crossing have been going on constantly before the year 1492. They create that fabrication and tell you that every school kid that to steal his empire. Historians prefer to deny geology, moving in space, toponymous, the idea of landscapes. For not consenting that before Columbus, man made the crossing of the Atlantic, being carried away by currents and winds. So even if you want to say he just by accident, man began carried back and crossed this thing, even by just by accident. So later on, all the evidence showing there were already commerce and trade going on, thousands of years between the world, different continents. All right, got two more. Then we get some of these landscapes and scenes of the ancient war. Right? Cabo Frio, a place name that preserved north of the Bay of Rio de Janeiro. So one of the names they ain't changed. We still around Cabo Frio, border of Islamic Mauritania. Like I said earlier, the records count that as mostly. The evidence showed that's Argentina. So the border of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and Argentina, we got Cabo Frio, known for active and rich trade. Norman factories such as Viking, Finlandia, are supposed to have disappeared because of the plague. So, they got those stories floating around too. But it's likely that they were exterminated by an angry coincidence. In war with England, Charles VI of France occupied the kingdom, and without being able to crown the metropolis, was not in a position to deal with the colonies. So she dealing with some North American history in this one. So added to the abandonment of the advance of the Portuguese, who, starting from Cape Verde, extended through the Kingdom of Fez, South America. The French could not defend the goal, being limited in presence to the new North France. So we had maps that show New France in North America. So she's dealing with the whole continent right now, going down. The place names appear in old geographies and maps of America, so we know this. Following New England, and New Sweden, and we got Nova Scotia, we got New Albion, and we got all those, okay. on the coast of cod, which is a fish. A documentary fishery in Barbaria. So a documented fishery in Barbaria called the Cape of Cod, Cabo Cod, or something like that. Or it might have another name, but she's saying that it's documented as being a fishery in the land of the Moors, which is Barbaria in Old Spanish. Frequented by Andalusians, Basques, Gallicans, and other sources. You see, been trade and shit going on. According to the stolen from Mendoza, a geography of the 17th century, the coast was called Mediterranean, as it is the closest to Europe. So, but that would make sense too, because we know the United States did a treaty, the Delaware River, the Moros for rights in the Mediterranean. So we're dealing with the Hudson and those areas that we can just hop and skip to Europe in that northern part, going through Maine and Greenland and all the way to Europe, England. That would make sense, being that would be the Mediterranean on paper. Being that it was Moors and Mediterranean peoples running that operation in the old times, like we read in the beginning about the Moorish Empire, the different parts of it, right? So we can go ahead and include that, the old Mediterranean. Alright, I've yet to find a map that show that has Mediterranean, but I might one day. Okay, let's continue. Bringing the campaign at the end of the year, the Catholics were called kings of Portugal, and Alonso Enriquez. So you can see how they start to, come together for conquest. Who succeeded the father, Admiral Mayor of Castile in Portugal. Now all these different entities. Every entity that I name is they had they got these just like people. We like family. Family. So you got inner fighting in your family. You got people who pledge their allegiance to certain things. So that's what we're dealing with. Who succeeded the father, Admiral Mayor of Castile in Portugal, convinced to control the sea or the Great Gulf, which they call De Castilla, which I believe is the little Gulf area, the Caribbean Sea. Alright. The monarchs introduced in November the novelty of requiring a license obtained upon payment to those frequent ports of the Sharife. So calling it Moorish ports, open to Christians. So ports that got treaties with so-called Christian powers, which is like Portuguese and Austrian shit like that. Got the right to do business. United States, one of those. Even though the United States isn't so-called Christians, they Christian and Moros. Cristianos and Moros. It's the United States. It's kind of deeper when he comes to the United States. We'll get into that. And the Islamism and all that connected. So in charge of Gonzalo Chacon and issued them, Isabel avoided confusion, placing the merchant scales located on the coast of Allende on the island of Africa and Barbaria. So that's what the record books show. To the part of the Gulf of Mecca, from inside of Saleh to the Cape of Aguilo, naming them in their order: Cabo de Aguirre, Port of Mogador, the two Salehs, the old and the new, with the rivers in the middle, and related to the current Saleh as the old Rabat or Rebate. It has not changed its name since the 13th century. Azamor, the city of Safi, and Aguilo continued. So all those places that she just named, those places that have been reconstructed. And one of my old videos, that area that we find that the names change, that is, let me see, what she said. The two Salehs, the old and the new, is both with the river in the middle. We find that both in Brazil, and it's called Afua on both sides of the river. You go on Google Map and look that up. You got Azamor. On this side, Azamor, it will make more sense for your boy Azamor, who was born in Azamor, who ended up coming to New Mexico, coming to Florida. Esteban. So you got Azamor closer than the Azamor on the other side, but you could have come from the other one. Doesn't matter, just an investigation, right? So some of the latest and documents that in 1485, a Columbus, you see, different Columbus, who do not appear to be the discoverer, continued to pirate. So on both sides of the wall, you got laws against pirating and slavery and all that written on paper, even in the church, But the powers, merchants and stuff like that, know how to use words in law to circumvent those, In 1477, pre-1492, we got war on Portuguese and Moors, most likely from Castilla. fighting near the seas of the Americas. 1476, Columbus, privateer, captain of the King of France. You see, even the King of France had a Columbus. So all Castile, all the church, they've been critique one of the Columbus. I guess theirs, the one who discovered, so-called discovered, or recognized, or conquered Cuba, and took that story and made that the official Columbus story, and paint around that a picture for you, which will make people come to my video and say, "Oh man, all this shit is nonsense," because they only have one story of one man and three boats who come change the world, right? Who come above the great Americas, right? Let's continue. That's an example of Leo the African, who had an integral part in talking about Africa and Morocco and the map showed the river of the slaves, and what we can call modern day Azamor, off the coast of Northwest Africa, Morocco. And the old map show the river of the slaves right there. Rio de los Esclavos, the river of the slaves on the other side in the region of Brazil. That what you just finished talking about with the two rivers. And Sale on both sides, which you will not find that on maps. They'll be insane to leave a map like that. Also, what's the point of stealing the Americas from you? They're gonna leave that out. You're right. It was supposed to be Moors. It was still supposed to be the land of Moors, right? So we definitely leave terms like Mare, Moros, Berberia, even though Barbados was like a little clue. But they leave a lot of terms out that we associate with Moors in Morocco, in Northwest Africa, and West Africa. Getting some of the architecture. That's Malaga. And we can see examples of Moorish. And we got Isla Cabo Frio. We talked about earlier in America. One of the place names that show up in all records that still exist. Got some of the architecture in America that show the Romanesque or the Andalusian or the Moorish architecture. Mediterranean. You would think this is the Sahara in Africa, right? And you see some of the old ancient, though we doing a carnival, but they showing you how ancient it is in Brazil. You learn about the Brazilians. Bahia. You think this is West Africa, right? Or they maybe have a story that deal with African slaves. You already know. Probably will get the truth out of it. We got Rio de Janeiro. And we got the Holy Wars. big business being done in these buildings, governed, ancient world being governed. This is Rio de Janeiro, if I'm mistaken, a fort. Sure, the ancient war has been over here that they don't teach. How they put it in some other sea. A lot of the stories of the Armada and other European fleets, African fleets, American fleets, in ancient times, a lot of those books and history is in the old libraries in places like the Vatican and the Library of Congress, the permanent state libraries. Just gotta know how to read it again. It's ancient aqueduct. Places like this in America remind you of old Portugal. Andalus, story in Mexico dealing with the Maurusia, especially. And look at the Moors. Tracing those same cultures that we see in Mardi Gras, where they got the full body suits. And like I said, you can't have Moros or Cristianos. It's all part of the same story. In different time periods and different stories represented in this, the National Center in Mexico City. You got the Chichimecans in this right there. The story of the Chichimecans. You got the beginning of the Conquistas. They come and rape and pillage and off in Mexico, Peru. Yeah, El Palacio Naciona. That's in Mexico City. It's a deep mural. Huge palaces. Palmeiras, Costa Rica. It's one of those places that show up in all records. But most of these places show up, even if the name changed. Just gotta look for go to the historical sections. Gloria, victory, glory. Gamboa. That could also be Gambia, Gamboa, Gambia. You know, vowels in this language is interchangeable. Rio de Janeiro, and the river, the Dore, which we get January from, Flumin, January, in Brazil. And you see the Mediterranean style city. Latin America. These are the ancient Latin peoples. Ancient Phoeniki. Paxia, La Paz, Bolivia. La Paz is another word for fast, or divine right, or peace. Pax. Paxia, La Paz. Ancient temple. And Wale de some Moorish Latin, Al Valle de la Luna. Bethlehem, Para, Brazil. Minas, Brazil. Minas is a very significant place in Moorish American history. Luzia have been found in Minas, Brazil. Luzia, Scow. Just evidence of Moorish presence. Humanitarian style. Sorry for the noise. So much of this architecture is just that we can consider these American. You know, they call it a melting pot, but there is a story. And if we can see the inheritance, you'll be able to see it when you're walking down the street right by your house. Bahia. Bahia, I think, means Rome of the blacks. Romas de los negros. Negras. Roma de las negras. Goes to show that the Latins, even though history might dub them Romans, that's an ambiguous term. The people who spoke certain Phoenician tongue using the Latin alphabeta. It's ambiguous. Bahia. Land of the palms. Certain terms you'll see inside some books, old books, that could be talking about these places. See Islamic influence in this restaurant in Bahia. Always Moros and Cristianos. Bahia. And see why they call it the Rome of the blacks. Porto de Santa Marta. This port is a port in history, famous Moorish history, and so-called Spanish history, same thing. Tienda de Ultramarinos, which is the high seas, overseas. We dealing with the language. Ultra Marinas, Marinets. It's a Moorish tribe that ruled the Atlantics. So when we're looking at these places and stuff, we gotta deal with them. They had these influences that we call Roman or Christian or whatever, but we just deal with the facts of the matter. principalities and empires and families, and just get out the colorable. We can find your inheritance in your face, regardless if you got a cross in front of it. You know, people, Moorish Americans in the several states wear crosses around their neck all day, right? So you can call that Bahia. Roman. This town in Lima that I found called Old Moros, which is interesting. Old Moros, right? Cricado de Lima, Peru. Lima is very, we gonna see Lima very, I would call Romanesque, or Mauritanian. That's how they explain these architecture in modern day Mauritania today, based off wars between the Romans and the Moors, right? And you say, and Punic water, the Romans took jurisdiction over Mauritania and spread it. So that's how they explain all the Latin inscriptions and all the ancient stuff in Numidia and, North Africa. And that's why they say Mediterranean. That includes Italy, North Africa, France, Italy, Spain. Certain influences. So all the books they burn, our books we still gonna put our history together, right? Because it would make sense that humans would have like the same type of structure, wouldn't have no like goddamn internet to see somebody 1,000 miles away and how they did this. This don't make no sense. So it'll make more sense that you're the same people spread over a long distance. Like your Circle 7, Moorish Americans listening to this. Your Circle 7 is a standing, a constitution, which is your constitution when you stand correct, you stand upright. You got good constitution, which will give you a legal version of basically a land title. So it give you the history of who the people is, which is everything that we talk about in this can be considered inside that chapter 47, 48 chapter. Throughout the Circle 7, we can deal with this. We deal with the missing years of so-called Jesus, right? Jesus. So we're dealing with, that's what the Circle 7 dealing with. Ain't dealing with the Moorish science, dealing with the actual facts of the matter. And not our perceptions of what these things is, based off how we see authors writing about this shit. Okay? Or moral. I know you keep saying the same thing in different ways, but wait, time is 3:05. That's why. Gotta stop making these videos to sleep, but do a lot of reading. Get lost in it sometimes. The whole Moros. Lima, Peru. And Lima. Lima, Cusco. I love Cusco too. Looking around on Google Maps. I think this Cusco. Oh, another little town that I've been looking at, can't much remember at the moment. I like the Andalusian style. Look like waters in the back. Yeah, Cusco, Peru. Victory. The most of Cusco. They really hold on in Cusco against the Castilians. And the Carlos Quintos, Peruvian empress. But That's all really a wash. At the end of the day, they always been they've been the same people. They just been this shit crazy. Like they've been the same people with different names. Like Carlos Quintos had a name. Like he probably be dressed like this sometimes and shit. Like get crazy. And look, he got a cape like Superman and shit. Yeah, book that talk about reading art. How you can read art using clothes. And I can see it all in this art. You can be able to see it. You got Cusco, the llama, a camel. What we talking about? Moroccan, right? It's an ancient structure. These people end up just making these all over the place, not just in this country, in this continent, okay? In Europe and Africa and shit. Ancient world. Look back there, but on the side of the mountains, just like the Berbers, so-called Berbers in North Africa. So-called Mediterranean people, like, it's just, you know, the human family. Who's gonna put it on? I don't care who in the world claiming anything. They just can't stop you from claiming what the facts is. Like, displacement is taking you outside of this, the human family. So you can't inherit this inheritance. As a part of the human family, you inherit this. Period. No matter who else claiming it. I guarantee you'll be able to take this story and flip it and put it in yours some kind of way. Just leave you with Moorish America on the side. We dealing with the Inquisition, taking Moors and capturing them and taking them to different parts of the Americas. That's on Lima. Or is so-called Cusco in Lima. In North America, I'm telling you. San Luis, Huila, Maranao, San Luis, the Maracanum River, and this show up a lot as rivers that's near Morocco, modern day. This river, this place. You see what we call us, what, Italian, so-called Roman, right? All French, shit. We can go Cuba, go Havana, all over. But this is where you be having your records at too. And they have right these buttons like this. And the secret style, Moroccan. So me, let's continue. Rio de Janeiro. You already know the Moorish Americans down there. In the store, Rome and Carthage. Look at the jungle. You know Moors always existed in this Africa. Then you never, it make more sense to just know that than this Africa Moors existed. Or dark-skinned people, if you want to use that term. Instead to believe that somebody had to bring them here, right? Look at the arch at the top. Tucumán, Argentina. Argentina is Mauritania. That been conquered by Rome. the story between Rome and the wars between Hannibal and all that shit. Punic Wars. Tucumán, Argentina. Okay, that's it on this part 4. I'll do part 5.